All right. Welcome, everybody, to the waxing part of the Red Moon bracket. All right, my hovercraft is still there. Nice. I am Mecha. I will be one of your commentators today, and Sheep Launcher can introduce himself as the other.
Yeah, my name is Sheep Launcher. I'm really excited to be here with you, Mecha, to broadcast this race tonight between Nightdew and Xyrak, both very experienced runners. Both made the round of 16 in our last tournament, the Adamant Cup. The winner of this one will advance in the waxing bracket to face Direwolf. So they have everything to play for. It should be a really exciting one. Mecha, we've had a couple of Red Moon races so far. A really interesting flag set.
Yeah. The first piece that makes it different from Blue Moon is that you have one kind of good slot, which is either Cecil, Edge, or in rare cases Fusoya, and today it's Cecil. So those Holy Swords are online. That power is there for them to tap if they can find a way to get to it. And then the other is that there are no free bosses in this. You can't get Dark Imps. You can't get like pretty much any of the free bosses unless you hit the 1 in a million for Water Hag. So these are all difficult bosses that if they show up at difficult spots could really do a number on you. Wyvern is fully powered, right? And he's on the list today. So
yeah, Wyvern is going to open with a Mega Nuke, and that is going to hurt, especially in the wrong spot, and that is a requirement. As a reminder, the runners have to complete 7 of 8 of those bosses that you see on the center of your screen to get the crystal to advance to face the big boss at the end. So Alt Gauntlet is on. That means that the encounters are going to scale to wherever they are, and you won't have to face the 6 encounters at the regular Full Gauntlet spot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we've got D-Lunars, we've got Wyvern, we've got 2 moon bosses. Full Gauntlet and Golbez are still the standbys in both Blue and Red Moon.
Yeah, also Elements and CPU. That CPU is going to be really interesting to me. CPU can be quite a pushover at some spots, but remember, the back row glitch is not on in Red Moon. So CPU at a bad spot, say at the Elements spot in Giant, if you have a physical party with no back row weapons, can be a nightmare.
Yeah, no, the lack of a back row glitch, right? Like Cecil as the back row tank, for example, where like it's not the same option that you have anymore, right? That takes him out of the way as someone who can swing. So yeah, the back row glitch being off, self glitch is off too. All you've got is life glitches here. All right, we've got Cecil and Rydia.
A Lunar Sparkle hands us a crystal glove and also the Freedom Kit and a not Demi Kit, so not much to go on early on, but we are glad to have you with us. We're underway.
Yep, Crystal Gauntlet does sell for a reasonable amount, so that's good for having money right out of the gate. As a note, as opposed to Blue Moon, they will not be going to check Bedward because there are the boss key item spots that are not free. You have to find D-Mist here if you want to get access to that key item.
Yeah, and the D-Mist could have any number of key items behind it, so it may be required, it may not be. We shall certainly see. Do want to thank our restreamer, Harumph, and our tracker, Zald, for being with us tonight. And right away we see Divergence. Xyrak heading into Damsian to pick up the Watercraft. Nightdew heading into the weighted treasure of the Watery Pass, picking up Kane there.
Yep, both of these are item locations, but one of them is a little higher quality, and one of them is a little higher density, right? So typically you'll do the higher density location if you're looking for attack items, AoE things, maybe to shore up the fact that Riddy is not going to be able to pull her weight early. But the fact is that Hook is required, so you're going to be launching this hovercraft at some point. So this is just something you're going to have to do. And Xyrak sees Sid on their side.
Yeah, and Xyrak will take that Sid on. Doesn't really have a choice. As you mentioned, the Hook is required. Normally, in seeds, you have two options to get underground: either the magma key or the Hook. This particular flag set makes it so the only way you're going to get underground is through the Hook.
Yep. Nightdew goes the extra mile for the back of Watery Pass, but doesn't really get paid off for it.
Xyrak did check out the waterfall and found Demus. Doesn't want to tangle with it right now. The waterfall, surprisingly fast, and doesn't have the power to take on Demus right now, but good information to have.
No, definitely. That's great to have that. That's a key item spot when you're ready to do it. But yeah, right now this party's not too well set up. All right, so we've got
a nice Mysidia with Rosa and a Palom, and Xyrak has the makings of a party here with an Anchor Sid, with two black mages, a white mage, and Cecil hanging along. Xyrak could feel comfortable with this party without even checking any more character locations, potentially.
It's true. I mean, almost certainly going to check the one on Ordeals, but might not head off to the Watery Pass.
Yeah, Xyrak doing a little figure 8 there to determine where he wants to go next, and it looks like he is going to do potentially the double dip of the Watery Pass and the Desert Oasis of Kaipo to check out the shops there.
That makes sense given the airship placement. Meanwhile, Nightdew's still looting. I saw him pick up a Boreas and maybe some other, but no real good equipment still.
So Nightdew did pick up an Odin summon.
Yep.
In the Antlion Cave. Quite interesting. Odin doesn't do any damage on its own, but it will insta-death enemies without the boss bit. So there are certain enemies, certain bosses that we might be facing where that would be useful, and it could really wreck an alt gauntlet that otherwise would be a little bit of a hassle.
Yeah, the Odin summon is a little bit of a niche tool. It'll take out the Calbrana dolls because the one that it checks for the boss bit doesn't have it. It's got some really nice edge case uses. The Gauntlet's another good one. Because otherwise right now Nightdew doesn't have AoE capability.
Not as niche as, say, Cockatrice strats.
No, Cockatrice strats definitely niche, but open to them. Neither of them has checked the location yet. But yeah, not as niche as that. Not as niche as Eddie strats for hiding. Right.
And Nightdew did pick up a Thunderclaw. That is interesting. So there are 7 distinct characters, and our runners have found 6. Edge is guaranteed not to be in this seed. If Yang is around, then that is quite useful. If not, that's just money.
Yep, and it's not much money. The elemental claws aren't worth much, but that thunder claw's definitely got potential. We could see Yang on the mountain. And Xyrak seems to think that Demus is takeable now with a full party, including Sid. So they are going to take the time.
Yeah, the physical attack here not absurd, so Sid can certainly take it. It'll just take a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things, Mecha, where with all of the requirements being boss hunts anyway, do you think you're gaining any time in tackling a Demus early and getting that key item early rather than waiting until you can dismiss demist in one hit.
I'd really rather wait. But like this, it's still like even if you hit a darkness here, which I think would be the best case, it still wouldn't like speed you up all that much, right? Because you still basically have no power. Like you can't even, and we don't even have like D money available here. In the meantime, Nightdew is going straight for the gated shops, straight for the value chests.
Yeah, that Octomam in the Antlion Cave was holding the hook.
Yeah, without even a 5th character. Just wants this stuff.
Yeah, it would be a very a very gutsy play to head straight down the hook route, but there is plenty of good stuff, good looting down here as well.
I think you're hoping for the Leviathan summon in this shop. That would basically solve the entire overworld for you.
There it is.
Boom. Like that's what you wanted to see coming in here early with Iridia. Is you wanted to see that kind of tool. But oftentimes people will put Iridia in the anchor plan slot. Also, the money's limited here, so I can see not necessarily buying it yet.
Xyrak did loot out the back of the watery pass, got a black belt, a very nice gear, and also picked up a white something. I don't know if it was an arrows or a white spear. A white spear would be a terrific thing, and it was a white spear.
Oh, that is great. That is a great hit. White spear is not Kane's ultimate weapon, despite what you think, but it is a good one.
Nightdew finds a diamond ring in the Chocobo Forest, and now I'm just thinking of an engagement gone wrong.
Yeah, they wanted to have a Chocobo Forest wedding, and somebody lost the ring. Sadly, Mom only had a Cure 3. That's not great.
No.
Reward them for the time invested there.
No, I mean, I could understand if Mom wanted to give us a carrot to encourage us to eat our veggies, but that doesn't even... What does that even do?
But this is something that's of value. No, not quite. No, we didn't get... No, just taking it for funsies.
Yeah. Xyrak taking on the Dark Knight doppelganger in the wrong cave for it to matter. If that were up on the top of Ordeals, that would be something.
Right. Speaking of on top of Ordeals, we've got Nightdew ready to face down Bahamut at the Mylon spot.
So the character on Ordeals was another twin. So yep. Nightdew has his full party going.
Yep, and we know that the other options for Nightdew are another black mage and another white mage. So this isn't one of those mage-heavy seeds you get, right? Like you could have a team of 4 mages and a chemist.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't have weak access, right? Like that's kind of the cripplers that people like to say slingshot a couple mages. Even if they run into darkness, that's not an option here.
Right. There's no Tela to weak any D machines or mech giants. So yeah, it's a mage heavy seed, and we're gonna have to find some other way to get levels. Also, no Yang.
Yep, no Yang. I mean, you can find there are axes out there that'll do good work against giants. Where like you could probably claw your way into such a thing, but yeah, I'm not. That's tough for the mages.
Nightdew gets through his counting lesson. Not really the worse for wear. Will do a safety save. The back of Ordeals is required. It's D's Lunars.
D Lunars. All right. On a nice note for Xyrak, he found life potions, which is, you start with some, but it's good to have more. So we've got life potions in the normal shop.
And Xyrak also found an Ashura summon if he wants to convert Rydia into the second best white mage in the game.
The stochastic healer. So these Cure 3s, like I love picking up Cure 3s early for exactly this purpose. They essentially turn into huge grenades against these, right? Like they're like 2,000 HP apiece here, so a Cure 3 and a jump, a Cure 2 or something, and you can tear through them without activating any of their nasty scripts.
Yes, remember, D-Lunars do not like it when you fight them. They're like, you want to go, bro? And they start bouncing viruses off at the very first hint of a fight. But if you toss big damage-dealing items like Cure 3, they are undead. They don't have to do that, and then you just throw a star off the bridge instead.
Yep. And so Xyrak, he is retreading, gonna get through Octomam and get that required hook. And Nightdew is going to unlock Cecil and get something.
It's
certainly an item that goes in your inventory.
It's an actual bomb.
It is an actual bomb. A big bomb. A Fire 2 version of bombs.
All right, so have you played Final Fantasy VII recently? Yeah. When you're in the parade and you don't do anything, send them a grenade. And that's what they did.
All right, we got elements here.
Which is also required.
Yeah, this is an easy fight. So this is a double required ordeals, which, I mean, you have Cecil, you're probably going to do ordeals, but
yes,
you can't fade ordeals here.
Yes, ordeals is absolutely hard required.
Yep. That's the rule in this flag set, is if an area has 2 bosses, it becomes hard required because 7 out of 8, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, you can skip one of them.
Yeah.
And it's going to be technically possible to last location ordeals if you really want to live the Dark Knight lifestyle.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, if you found a black sword and you wanted to kind of cheese some stuff, maybe, but that's a real edge case compared to, Excalibur access.
Well, Xyrak will go to Fabul instead and defend that, which is noble of him.
Yep. This is also an interesting decision under this flag set because you have the hook every time, right? Like you might, if you have the hook before you hit Fabul, there's reason to say skip that, do Sheila 1, right? Like, minimize your trips. But also, it's a key item. If it's darkness, if it's something, that unlocks, a big game, right? Like then, skipping it can hurt you. Here we got a free boss.
Yeah, the officers and soldiers got lost. They were supposed to go to Kaipa. They ended up in Fabul instead. Wrong place, wrong time, guys.
Yeah. And the last 2 character checks in.
And this will be an interesting decision for him.
Yep. Thankfully, he's right at the tower. But it's time to make that decision.
And so the twins are going to get dissed in Mysidia. That has to hurt even more.
Yeah. So I'm feeling the Rydia anchor here is what's going to happen with Nightdew, but I mean it's still possible. He knows that Leviathan Orb is there. Right, like it's possible he doesn't do that and goes for the Sid anchor.
Yeah, he has 2 viable anchors. He just has to make a decision.
Yep. And Nightdew's going for Fabul as well, and Xyrak shows him their future as a Legend Sword.
And the Legend Sword, one half of the Forge, the Super Smith flag is on Mecha. What does that mean for the characters that we have?
Right, so Super Smith is a relatively recently added flag that puts the Final Fantasy IV advanced weapons in the pool for what you can get out of the Coco Shop Forge. That includes scrap metal to edge weapons, which would be completely worthless in this seed. And they sell for 0. Remember that. You aren't getting any money out of Coco's Forge. Or something as powerful as the Lightbringer, the Gigant Axe. Right, Gigant Axe is basically a crystal sword for Sid. That's how powerful it is. And And yeah, so like it's wide range, but it's not limited to the characters in your party. And so with only 7 characters up, you could hit some zonks there.
Yeah, you may have seen a few seeds with the Sea Hero flag on, where that Super Smith will always get the hero's ultimate weapon, or one of the weapons that the hero can use. But in this instance, where there's no hero character, you will get whatever Kokol in his wisdom deigns to make for you.
Xyrak is checking weapon shops and item shops still.
Xyrak did pick up either ones from, only a couple from Fabul, but also for sale in Fabul. If you really want to accessorize that Rydia, the Sylph Orb.
Yeah, yep. So it's a solid spell even when it's not free. They both check the Diamond Ring. They're both looting very heavily here. It's certainly surprising, with we expect higher level players, right, like to run really lean. And here we've seen a lot of looting of overworld locations. This is T-Tro. The overworld locations are definitely weighted to be worse stuff. And yet they loot.
Xyrak, on his way up ordeals, took a long look at Forum before deciding to tell her to hit the bricks.
And I like that long look because double white mage, triple melee fighters has a long pedigree.
Nightdew checking Mount Hobbs, finds a blue robe. It is an alt gauntlet. Mount Hobbs is required.
Mount Hobbs is definitely on the table. Yeah, so Nightdew, I believe, has done... No, Xyrak did the demist into... So Xyrak has found one of the Xyrak found a miss at Mist Cave, where
at the waterfall.
And waterfall, and then went to Mist Cave, right, and found Dark Knight Cecil. Nightdew found a gauntlet where doesn't really have the AoE capability, but Cecil and Kane and Dancing Dagger should be able to take these out pretty easy. Grimoire hit Bahamut. Bahamut got Bahamuted. And Xyrak is through. Very nice.
And Mount Hobbs could be a place that could slip your minds.
Yep.
We kind of trained to check the two boss spots in the Mist Cave and the Waterfall for the free bosses. With the free characters on, but the earned characters off, the only reason to check Mount Hobbs is a boss check. There's no character up here, so without it kind of being on the free boss checklist, it could be easy to overlook. I don't think that will happen to either runner, but it's a possibility.
No, it's a very good thing to bring up, right? It's not... it's, for long-term runners, right, it's been 4 years wired in of, if you're doing a boss hunt, right, in the first time we couldn't do a boss hunt, right, except for Deep Mist, right, but eventually it gets wired in that there are 2 spots in the overworld you want to check before you go underground, right. This is not one of them, right, so yeah, it is entirely possible that that's where we end up. Xenocat in chat noting that the Flame Spear, when activated, is AoE, so those skeleton packs would fall pretty easily to the AoE fire of the Flame Spear, but Nightdew is through nonetheless.
Yeah, and Nightdew not looting out the back of Hobbs doesn't have a source of exit.
Yep.
As of yet.
No, I agree with that. It's where they've already looted a lot. I feel like that's a long walk to make without an exit in your pocket.
Also not going to check the front of Hobbs to try and spike a nice summon for Rydia. I think Nightdew is going to ride the Leviathan train as far as it will take him.
I do think that that's a very likely possibility. With this parking spot, though, I'm wondering if we're looking at... Yep, we are looking at digging for holy swords in the trap chests.
Yeah, 3 trap chests in Evelyn Castle. You saw it in the Adamant Cup, a very popular play as well. You got a Cecil. You know that a Holy Sword will just let him run roughshod over the entire blue planet.
Okay. This is a signal that Nightdew is actually going to use Rydia, because burning both Odin and Sylph is throwing away, right, like tens of thousands of gold.
Yeah, and Rydia got levels in Nightdew's last couple of fights, so the Odin is going to be also very useful in taking on these trap chests.
Yep.
Xyrak, meanwhile, completes his transformation, taking care of the elements and these lunars in the process.
Yep. And headed back out with their Cecil, and we will see what they do. They've done all of the overworld stuff except for Baron Inn, which neither of them have done yet, or even peeked at yet.
Yeah, and Xyrak has not gone up Hobbs yet.
That's right.
The first trap chest Nightdew encounters in Evelyn Castle is the Mad Ogres.
If we had more pixels, I think he should. Yes. And there we see the Odin. Yep. As you mentioned, this is a great place for an Odin. They are not immune to instant death.
Yeah, they do hit hard. And the Odin whiffs.
Yep, that's what an Odin whiff looks like. Is it just blinks onto the screen and no luck?
Yeah. So Rydia's been taking magic lessons from Tella, it looks like.
Yep.
And Xyrak is going to head to Baron. And both Nightdew and Xyrak equipping that Legend Sword directly onto Cecil. You don't see it often, but beggars can't be choosers.
Well, that is the vanilla equip that you get normally when you finish that. That's the key item that you get that has been replaced, right? Like, is the Legend Sword. Oh, I see a required boss here.
Yeah, a Golbez is sitting down for a dinner with a pig.
This is going to be annoying, but not hard. It only has 400 HP, but the script doesn't get any shorter.
Yeah, and Golbez will be laughing at us the whole time.
He wants refreshments, and you didn't give them to him. I don't know if he was expecting here. This Mad Ogre fight is dragging a little for Nightdew. I think they were really hoping for that Odin hit. But
yeah,
they don't have any mage killer stuff. They're just this is just a rough, slow fight. I think it's winnable, but
and burning through life potions as well.
Yep. And Nightdew hasn't done the shop searching that Xyrak has, so he only has the starter. That's 9. That's now 8. All right, so yeah, this fight did not go like Nightdew wanted, but thankfully Cecil's cover capabilities are excellent here and are really gonna help finish this out.
And it will all be worth it if he spikes an Excal from this.
Excal or a Crystal, right? Absolutely. The FF4E is a game where things snowball. The faster you can kill, the quicker you get stuff, the faster you can kill, repeat ad nauseum. So finding this, 25-minute beat Holy Sword has some real power in it.
And Nightdew is through. Xyrak still needs to just connect once on this Golbez.
Wow, yeah, it got close there. Just barely got that shield in play. Barely got that wall in play.
Nightdew picks up a Moon Veil from the Mad Ogres. A nice item to have. Maybe the juice not worth the squeeze, though.
No, not with that fight taking that long. It is a powerful item to have. It's not always a fast item, but it's essentially an infinite illusion. And the wrong blue robe here.
Yeah, but Xyrak in a little bit of trouble. Does have an illusion. Water Hag hits hard here. It's a
Yeah.
very slow spot. Xyrak would do well to try and pick everybody up. He's going to try and solo with Palom.
Since it's such a slow spot, that might be doable, right? I mean, if it's not right, like then life potions aren't going to help you all that much because you're essentially raising a person and having it die. Unfortunately, that was the second illusion hit. Palom's likely to take a third hit, and I don't know if he's got the defensive gear to survive in the back row. Sylph is not the grimoire that Nightdew was looking for on the Ailman fight.
Xyrak makes it through.
Nicely done. Yeah, that's got to be a sigh of relief on Xyrak's side.
Just gets a Boreas though, but we'll take that required Golbez.
Yeah, that required Golbez took, both of those bosses were a little dicier than I think Xyrak would have wanted, but a win's a win. And now Xyrak is pretty much at the point where they check the final boss spots and head down the hook route. There's really not anything left.
Although
Hobbs.
And although Palom was the only one who survived those fights, the Golbez fight did get Palom Virus.
That's good. Virus is the most powerful single spell, basically, until you get nuked. Crystal Shield, not what we're looking for. I feel like you should equip that to Cecil, though, because he's tanking a lot. And Xyrak doing much the same, looking for those crystal weapons, those holy swords.
Yeah.
So the way holy swords work now with tier 8, right, like, and with no adamants, is that if you get a tier 8 item, it is an Excalibur or a crystal, right? So tier 7 still got all the great stuff it had, but tier 8 items, always a holy sword, right? Like, there's only 3 things in that tier, and one of them's been taken out.
Yeah, it is a rare tier to spike from a trap chest, but it's certainly not unheard of.
No, that's a solid grimoire, and that Big Bomb will finish it off. No, I'm surprised. I thought Big Bomb would do it. But this is often your normal kind of spell-based damage items. You do want to get rid of them in the overworld, so it's just a reasonable opportunity is these trap chests. Glass hat. Useful, but not what you're looking for.
Kind of bust of an Evelyn Castle.
So, yeah, a bust of an Evelyn Castle. Cecil is quite the tank now. And plenty of money for Nightdew to...
Yeah, I believe in addition to that glass hat, Cecil also has an Aegis shield. So Cecil won't be taking any physical damage.
Not from the back row. We have an actual in usage here from Nightdew.
Good night.
It's something we never used to see. We've been seeing a little more often as players run closer to the edge, or like Nightdew hasn't checked many shops.
And camping gear is not freely available.
Yeah, it isn't. There have been plenty of seeds I've played in similar flag sets like this, and yeah, here we see Xyrak checking for status effects because status priority is a thing in this game.
And Nightdew took a look at Golbez and is heading out of Baron. Gonna try and manipulate to have 3 of his characters already down so that he can choose which to survive. Heads up play here.
Right, and so like they only had access to Frog. Like size comes later, generally on the white mages. So that's the ideal situation is pigs and size, and you didn't have access to either. So instead, going and doing the kill off. It's not super fast, but should be plenty doable. And then, as you say, where like the Golbez script only kills you down to 2 no matter what.
Yeah, you'd think he'd mix that up from time to time.
It's just the dragon's got a fixed size stomach. Shadow can only eat so much. Right? Shadow won't keep trying until it gets down to 2, it takes 3 shots, right? Like at most, right? Like that's the thing, is it will take no more than 3 shots, or you getting to 2, whichever happens first. Right, so immunity to death, does leave you with more characters, stuff like that.
Well, while our runners are taking care of these encounters, do want to thank our restreamer Harumph and our tracker Zald for doing the hard work behind these scenes to give you the pretty pictures and to give you all the information, including that wonderful kind of boss array in the middle of your screen there, which is new for this tournament and really cool.
No, I really like that. When you know all the objectives are going to be bosses, but like having it just be 8 lines of text is not nearly as satisfying as the pictures.
And Xyrak saw the Leviathan orb, and I could hear his eyes get wide from here. He immediately starts selling off things.
And leaves anyway. Checking for other things before possibly committing.
Yeah.
Gungear Spear is not a bad spear, but you've got white, which is essentially better.
That's right.
And then Dragoon Hat, a good hat. But yeah, mainly just not stuff there. So going through without looting even the stuff on the way, Xyrak seems done with looting, which makes sense. Fabul was a lot of looting, and they did a lot of incidental looting beforehand.
Yeah. Now Xyrak is fully committing to this hook route now. Did leave the Mount Hobbs undone for now.
Imps, delicious. You know what's really good with imps?
What's that?
I really love life glitching the imps, especially at this spot. This is a high XP spot, all things considered. Right, like if you can get some life glitches on these, right, like you will get a nice bounty of experience.
Yeah, it's basically another Mad Ogre's chest that gets you a nice bucket of experience. Oh, and a curse ring for Xyrak.
Oh wow, that's a great hit. With the minimal shop checking Xyrak's been checking a lot of shops, not much for the armor shop. So that curse ring is a great hit. It really gives you some flexibility on how you want to do your anchoring. Nightdew a little cleaner on those kills, gets their Boreas and is disappointed with their life, but at least they got a boss down.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Nightdew has 4 out of the 7 objectives he needs.
Yep, that's a little higher than average for the surface, I'd say. So yeah, it's better to have more than less. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, especially with the array of bosses we have, some of them can be really a lot of trouble in the wrong spot. But don't worry, there are still plenty of troublesome spots for Baigan and Val and Wyvern to show up in.
And so now, right, like, they are essentially, in terms of what they've done, like, Nightdew never killed D-Mist.
Right.
Zalgo never saw Gauntlet. Right?
Xyrak did not see Gauntlet, right.
Right, and so, like, they both have pieces of information, the other doesn't. But in that exchange, Nightdew is the one that's advantaged. And Nightdew does, in fact, continue committing to the Rydia, as you'd expect. We've got Evil Wall at the King-Queen spot. That's not great.
This might hurt a lot.
This will hurt a lot. This spot is one of the spots that gets a ton of power because they never punch anything.
Yeah, yep. And this party is pretty squishy, despite having a Kane and a Sid and a Cecil.
And Xyrak doesn't have any levels in that. Cecil, that's a beating. That's not an easy spot.
No, it is not. And Xyrak gonna pace back and forth and figure out what to do. And I think wants to go back to an earlier save state and get out of the hook route entirely.
It's reasonable. I'm not sure to what end.
Maybe he wants to check Hobbs and see see what's up there.
Maybe. I mean,
Gonna
what are your
loot.
other grind options, right? Like that's the thing
Yeah.
is like, okay, what are you going to do to fix your tower? You do know a lot of stuff in shops, right? Like maybe you loot here, or like maybe hope to hit a crystal sword off of the off of the 12%er that is the Staleman chest. Right, like that's a possibility here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't do Mad Ogres, you could do Mad Ogres. That
Did
said,
get a nice
right
ninja
now-
hat.
Yeah, that said, right now, again, they lack Mage Killer gear. Right, like, Nightdew has the strategic advantage against Ogres here in a way that Xyrak just does not.
Yeah, Nightdew in a little bit better position to take care of that, but still gonna have the same problem running into the evil wall, which is how do you survive that onslaught?
Yeah, I mean, Cecil's pretty tanky here. In the back row, I imagine he could do good work, but that spot is fast and hits hard, and you're gonna have to get that damage in before it starts crushing. We don't have a ribbon. We don't have crush resistance. The Stalemen were in the infirmary today.
Yeah, that's really scary to pop out of the urn there. And Fried Potato making a good point in chat. Nightdew did pick up that Moon Veil.
That's right. Moon Veil this is honestly exactly the spot you want to see the Moon Veil. You want it in a spot where their damage is too much, but your damage isn't bad either, right? Like, because you don't want to put it on and then chew through a 40,000 HP spot. You want to put it on and then chew through 3 or 4 swings, right? Like, and I think that's much more where we are here. So if Nightdew remembers that Moon Veil, this is actually one of the better situations for a Moon Veil as a tool, I think.
Yeah, the Moon Veil would make the Evil Wall fight free. Maybe slow, but definitely free. And it's absolutely worth using to...
It won't protect you from cry. But yeah.
It's absolutely worth using.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that's a very good call out. Very good call out there.
Oh, and that's an X-Cal from the Infirmary Staleman.
12%er hits, and Xyrak is back in the advantage, the slight advantage seat. Xyrak Cecil is now, a solid damage dealer. In a way that, and Nightdew is doing solid cover strats. Cecil in the back row still taking 100, but not enough to stop. Right, like, not enough to be a problem. Right, like, there's Leviathan coming out. Yeah, I think Nightdew's going to get through this, maybe without even using the Moon Veil.
That would be huge to save that Moon Veil for a rainy day.
And again, like, it's one of those tools where you can use it, and like it can be useful, but you don't want to use it and just slog through a slow spot with it. But yeah, maybe use it at a later spot. We've still got like Baigen would be a good spot to use it against.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Tough Baigen. You'd love to have that Moon Veil still in your pocket. All right.
Cecil's down to about 300.
That's 2, maybe 3 hits if you're lucky. Yeah. See, that's the low rolls are in the 20 to 40 range, but the high rolls are. No, Sid can't do it. Too fast. 4? Dang.
Oof.
There's radio gone. And no, did not make it.
Yeah,
That's not a great wipe.
So that's Evil Wall 2, runners none so far.
Yep.
But we're only in the top of the third. Still early.
Still early. I think, I think Nightdew can win this. The question is just how many resources he's going to have to expend. Meanwhile, Xyrak is still a squishier, but he does have a few more hit points on Cecil now, and the Excalibur is a big damage upgrade.
Yeah. Xyrak getting ready to face the foe.
Yep. Knowing who you're fighting can sometimes be the difference between that first failure and that second success a lot of the time. And an FE, whether it be as obvious as a Wyvern or, something a little less obvious where a simple adjustment can... And here we saw Xyrak do exactly that, just like, nope, like, I can't do this right now. But like, let's go back and see how long it takes me to find a way through this, right? And did, right? Like, by finding the Excalibur.
There is nothing like the very first moment when you're encountering a boss for the first time in a spot like the King Queen Evelyn spot where the boss could absolutely ruin you if it's the wrong kind, and could absolutely be a breeze if it's the right kind.
Yep. All right, we have Kayn Berserk this time. Leviathan does get off. We're in much better shape on Nightdew's side. Xyrak still having a tough time of it.
Yeah. Yeah, Xyrak doing more damage with that X-Cal, but just not finding a way to weather the storm so far.
And Xyrak's adjusting by moving down to battle speed 3.
And it's one of those things where, it's so simple to slow the enemy down, and in the heat of battle, sometimes it just doesn't quite get there. But Xyrak, on top of it, and doing well to slow this evil wall down.
Okay, so this is something that I noticed both of them is they both succeeded with Berserk, right? Like when enemies cheat, when enemies go very fast, having a Berserker in the queue keeps it fair, right? Like we'll typically refer to this as queue jamming when you do it a lot, but even one person in the queue can allow you to get in the Berserk queue, allows you to get through your Kainazos without them just rushing through things. You saw the end of that fight, of their fights with Evil Walls, where Evil Wall was just taking step forward after step forward, and there was nothing you could do. Right? Like that's what happens sometimes. Is the enemies just get too many actions against you, right? Like because life isn't fair, and neither are their scripts. Nightdew through at 43-23.
Very nice. Not going to avoid the pitfall. But yeah, Nightdew, with those cover strats, got through through the evil wall, and the dark imps was just an Odin slash.
CPU, another objective boss, is at the top of the tower.
Oh boy, and that's real tempting to just go straight up the top of the tower, at least if you're a Keyless Tower fan like me. Because Keyless Tower works every time.
Keyless Tower pays out more than you feel like it should.
I feel like it works out 100% of the time, and you can't convince me otherwise.
I have strong doubts on the veracity of that. We've ran numbers before, but it pays out. Again, the way I look at Keyless Tower is it pays out more than it feels it should. But in fact, it just pays out exactly what it does, right? Like the odds are the odds, right? Like, but it always feels like it's worse than it actually is. So if you don't like Keyless Tower, I suggest you reconsider your position. But it's not 100%.
It's 100% of the time, except for all the times when it doesn't work.
70% of the time, it works every time.
There's a question in chat, Mecha.
Okay. Go ahead.
Back row glitch is off in this flag set, and the Evil Wall fight really demonstrating where that comes into play.
Yeah, we saw Nightdew. I mean, he only had Legends Order, and he swung for double digits from the back row. Right, like that. Oh, Xyrak is through that Evil Wall. Finally managing to get the kill, and not willing to risk the disaster of having to try and get that kill again. Goes back. I think that's reasonable given, like there is a risk of ruin here. Meanwhile, Nightdew's cracking a few eggs.
Yeah, I hope you like your eggs soggy. Because
soggy. This is hotel breakfast water, like water soaked eggs here. But they still have just as much experience.
And Xyrak going into the Dark Imps fight, I'm sure, with no small sense of relief.
Yeah, notably, Xyrak doesn't have Odin. Or, like, doesn't have insta-kill tools, right? So, just gonna have to slog this out, which is, again, another thing where Nightdew took the off-maligned Rydia gave her gave her the tool she needed and got paid for it. I mean, Xyrak's still doing plenty of damage. Those quakes are great here. Right. Like that, the Holy Sword's going to do fantastic. Right. Like this is going to be a reasonable kill, but it's no Odin. Right.
Yeah. Nightdew did only do a couple eggs. Oh, and there are the Sirens for sale in Tamra.
Nice. 8 more Sirens. Yeah, that seems reasonable. It makes sense to you want to make sure that your boss kills are fast enough, right? Like you don't need to go to power overwhelming levels at this point. But it makes sense to crack a few and make sure that, you don't get got. Right, because that's kind of the worst outcome, right? Like of something bosses is getting got, right? Like I'm wasting time when you could have just taken a couple of non-10 key item Sirens and move on with your life.
Nightdew, realizing that the seed really wanted him to use Odin. I think that's the third Odin orb I've seen.
Yep. Yeah, there was one in the tower. There was the original one, and then there's the one in the near the Job Dwarf that was not checked. And Xyrak is through. So Xyrak 47, so 5 minutes of difference roughly between the two.
Yeah, certainly not insurmountable. Especially given the ways that routing is possible.
This is what you can do with the Excalibur, right? Like, can you leverage this Excalibur? We have a bunch of single bosses and not multi-target bosses, right? Like that's a big thing here is that Nightdew has double the damage of Quake on tap, whereas Xyrak has a better sword by far. And
so Xyrak did not check the boss at the top of the tower. Actually made a trip back to check.
I like
and
that.
Sees his CPU.
So there's like playing a seed like this, a second curse ring if you missed the first one. This is playing music. You can't ever actually take your step back. But what you do at every point is you go, okay, what should I do? Right? Like, so yes, you missed it the first time, but it's still way better going that one screen back than climbing up 8 screens to find it out the normal way. Right? So you just suck up your pride and you do it. So, it's not ideal that happened, but it's good that Xyrak did what I think is the good thing and went back now.
What an armor shop in Dwarf Castle. Tiaras and strength rings for sale.
Whew! That's powerful. That's Rydia getting her best hat. And we were very light on arm slot stuff for our fighters, and now strength rings akimbo. So yeah, that is a great armor shop to hit here. And Kamazo.
Dwarf Castle has a dancing turtle.
Dancing turtle, 8,000 or so HP of annoyance.
Yeah. And the waves will do a bunch of damage, and there's no physical armor that can help cut that down.
No, we've seen, I think we've gotten a number of lightning, like Zeus rages and stuff. I think we're going to be fine. Alright, I think we're just going to be able to power through this pretty straightforwardly.
And
our HP is actually pretty good here. I'd honestly be surprised if the wave even were through us. And they're on the same boss.
I'm seeing double. 4 Kanatsas.
So this is so now look at the stats here, like the HP totals, right? Like the Sid is like the grinding that was done by Nightdew, but like gave Cecil a little HP, Sid a ton of HP, and Kane a ton of HP.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and the other two are basically at the same HP levels, right? So that's interesting, right? Like you think, oh, like clearly all the numbers will be higher by a noticeable amount. That's not the case. Right, like Palom and Rydia essentially have like the same HP. Rosa's, has a little more HP. Right, like Sid, Kane, and Cecil got some progression on HP. Right, so that's you don't necessarily see that. Right, like that leveling different characters really only does so much. There we go. Rydia with Virus being able to do some solid damage, and now Nightdew's got him hiding in the shell.
Yeah, and that Rosa having 250 extra HP on Nightdew's side really makes a difference in this fight in particular.
Right.
Even at that low levels, like that's the difference between surviving a wave and not.
Yeah.
So it does allow Nightdew to get through that fight a little bit faster.
And that's leg.
Yep, that's a full amount of leg.
And Iridia's get... I only saw the first two.
Yeah, and I don't think Nightdew cares that much. Rydia knows Leviathan.
Yeah. I don't know if you can hit Bahamut there. I don't think you can.
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, you basically have all the good stuff already. A good use of Boreas there. Weaknesses are powerful things in this game. So while I talked about using them, as best you can early, yeah, those two items are just going to tear through Rubicon's weaknesses.
Yeah. Was that Boreas? Let me show you how.
Yeah, Boreas did, 4 digits, 2,000 plus damage on a 3,000 damage spot, right? So yeah, this...
Yeah.
Blair missed.
Turning
his magic attack is so bad.
So this spot in the vanilla game is Golbez. Right. And Golbez's magic powers turned way down, because Golbez could kind of be a final boss if you really wanted him to be. But just turned way down, and that causes Rubicon to miss Glare and also turn into an icicle.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of missed waves here as well. Right, like same sort of deal. Because Lit 3 is a very damaging spell, and he uses it. Golbez uses it here normally.
Nightdew did pick up a pink tail from Dwarf Castles, Xyrak getting his as well. Both runners now have access to a top-tier item, not an Adamant Armor, though.
Nope, Adamants are off, but as a Tier 7 or Tier 8 item. I got a cabin once, which... As we were talking about earlier, sometimes cabins can be hard to find, not in this season. But cabin is a real unfortunate prize out of the pink tail check.
It sure is. Xyrak's still looting, by the way.
Man, that is a lot of looting. Wonder what they're looking for. Wonder what he.
And we'll pick up one of each of the Strength Ring and Tiara. Goodness.
Ooh, that's a good hit. Avenger is basically Kane's best weapon. And
he doesn't have an X-Scout for Cecil.
Sword. Yeah, and he doesn't have another thing for Cecil, right? So, yep, now it's going on Cecil, and now Cecil's going to be able to do a reasonable amount of damage. So that's a great hit, yeah. It could have been Crystal, it could have been Excalibur, but Avenger's right up there on the list of next best things to hit. So,
and that evens Nightdew's damage output a little bit with Xyrak. Xyrak capable of putting out more damage right now with that Holy Sword, but the odds are leveled for a little bit until Xyrak gets his own.
Yep. Xyrak finding the sirens in the mining town. Yeah, that Concussed Gamer is right. That Avenger pickup is definitely, it's not great, the yellow D's, but it's autopilot kills. Can't ask for much better than that until you get the actual one-hit kill. Yep,
so both
sirens.
And Nightdew is going to give his eggs a water bath. Seems to me like the choice is pretty clear for both runners. Whether you go into the land of summon monsters first, try to clear that out, or whether you do Keyless Tower first.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, there's a boss at the top of Keyless Tower. Just take the extra 25,000 experience or whatever it is and go. Clear the darn thing.
Yeah, although, if there's a tower key in the free chest down here, you'll feel pretty silly.
You'll feel silly, but I mean, it's as Zoe has said before, right? The time loss is not as bad as it feels, right? To end up in that situation. And who's saying that you need to go and check the tower key anyway? Rat Tail.
Bacchuses and Silkwebs down in the Land of Summon Monsters shop.
We've gotten some pretty powerful ungated or gated shops here.
Yeah, Bacchuses. And he's going to pick up a 6-pack of wine, and it's always good to have a Silkweb or 2 in your back pocket.
It is. It's the easiest way to both nerf the first Big Bang and get 2 stacks of slow on Zemus. You always want to see, you basically always want to see it in this form, because it is the perfect first nerf action. Because it takes 2 stacks to do anything against Zemus. So, conveniently, Silkweb gives you 2 stacks.
Xyrak did pick up 20 cabins from his shopping, which...
That's a little much. But sometimes you're just so happy to get cabins that you're just like, oh, please, thank you. You never... The first time you ever get caught in the lunar subterrane without cabins, oh, it's a free boss and a Xylem and a Nylon of some sort.
Yes. It's Mylon and Friends.
Mylon and Friends! Yeah.
Hope you're ready to party.
So this is actually a very easy spot for Mylon and Friends, because this spot's like Lit 1 is not going to do anything, and nobody's going to swing melee. So like it's just like this is a joke fight, right? Like and yeah, the King Queen Eblin is always free.
Yeah, so Nightdew getting a bunch of levels, presumably to take on whatever's in the Land of Summon Monsters, and he's gonna find he's not going to need it.
No, so yeah, like this is a little bit of advantage, like Xyrak. Problem being that we're at 4 key items, so like we are a long distance away from Xyrak being able to get paid for the Langus grind, right? Because that's the idea of not grinding, is that you're trying to get paid by doing it when you get twice the experience. That's not happening right now. There's still a lot of key items that they're gonna have to hit for that.
Yeah. So Mecha, what if there are 2 key items in the Fey March from these bosses? Say a Darkness Crystal and a Baron Key. What would be your thought process?
Those are great key items. I mean, we know where a boss is, we hit it, right? Because we hit it and then we go to the moon and we do Baron, because Baron has a moon has a sparkle, right? Like, which could be our Wyvern, right? And 2 other possible spots, right? So you do Baron and then you go Dragon, but of course you do Keyless Tower, right? And Nightdew's already ahead of us in doing Keyless Tower, which, I think that's probably the better thing to do before you go and do summon monsters in general. It just so happens these summon monsters are easy. The first was only a White Spear, though. So.
White Spear. And I believe Xyrak is the one who picked up the White Spear earlier, so it doesn't even help him.
Yeah, Nightdew's been suffering with a Word Spear until he actually bought that
Gungnir?
Yeah, he actually bought it. Alright, and so, yep, Nightdew's gonna face down a CPU. CPU is basically the same in every spot. Just, the only difference is how big is the orb when it kills you. And in this spot, the orbs will be smaller than normal, but I still think they kill you.
So, did Nightdew equip that Avenger on Cecil, and does he want to?
He did, because he was using it during eggs. Question is...
Did he de-equip it is the question.
Yep. I don't think he did. I'm not seeing... No, that's where Cecil should have come up if he was taking actions. We are on Berserk strats here. And Nightdew double commits to that by Berserking Cane as well.
So this is YOLO.
Yep. Good old-fashioned YOLO.
Xyrak through the melodrama part, and that is a Darkness Crystal.
Ooh, great hit. Darkness Crystal unlocks a lot of boss spots to face check. Getting Darkness Crystal here, I want to take the top of tower, and then I want to go to the moon. right? Like I want to start knocking those spots down. We don't have enough bosses, right? Like we're not gonna find our final 2 bosses on the blue planet. It's not happening.
We're
right?
not.
Like,
So
unless you get Baron Key somewhere, right? Like, but we already know that we're not getting Baron Key.
Or Earth
Or
Crystal.
Nightdew could hit Baron Key right there. Ooh. So you end up getting Baron Key before we go to the moon.
What a spike!
Xyrak is Xyrak's considering. Xyrak is headed back out. Interesting. Yeah, Xyrak was headed towards that Baron Key. Decides to go do Sheila 1 instead. All right.
Probably gonna lay down a marker as well in case the Sheila check doesn't work itself out.
Yep, very smart. You have 4 save slots. Use them. Like those are resources too.
But again, a nice CPU fight from Nightdew.
Yeah.
YOLO works even at a high HP spot like the top of tower. When you just have a couple of good weapons and no fear, it really pays off.
Use an item on Yang there. Is that like? Do you have to use an item on him, or do you just have to open the menu?
I think you just have to open the menu.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gone in and then canceled out of the menu. All right, so Nightdew doing the expected here, going for the free item and finding out what the 2 bosses are, and will be moderately pleased at seeing what he sees, just because they are beatable.
Yeah, Xyrak is going to hit up the Adamant Grotto on the way, pick up his Avenger.
Yep, and could go for Avenger swapping, or could go for, as I said, like Kane's best weapon is Avenger for a lot of the game. It's Avenger, Defense Sword, or White Spear, and like Avenger is a lot of that space.
Does pick up the spoon. No Edward, no Edge.
Oh right, because he had the rat tail too. All right.
Otherwise, it's a key item.
It's a key item. Right, like it's one closer to key item hood.
And does get his Avenger. Now, it is possible, still, for there to be 2 and precisely 2 moon bosses that are required. In which case, Nightdew would really be ahead, because Nightdew would only have to do 1 of those bosses, because Xyrak has still not checked out the gauntlet on Mount Hobbs.
Right.
So just something to keep in the back of your mind there.
Nope, that's definitely true, right? Like, you get to skip 1, and, but you prefer to skip 1 when it really matters, and not, like, when it's a fairly easy gauntlet at Hobbs, right? And so Nightdew finds out that everything is free. Have to save some time by not berserking your way through the King-Queen fight, which is more than reasonable.
And Xyrak picks up the Earth Crystal from Sheila 1, and now Xyrak has a decision to make.
Yeah, 2 bosses, although you could have accessed 1 already, and 1 key item. Not as good as a Baron Key, but it's still quite good. And plus the Treasury is now an option if you're still searching for stuff.
Now, if Xyrak were still looking for a better weapon or better piece of armor here, would the Treasury be a worthwhile investment?
I think so. Like, if you're really looking for something better, the Treasury is you're likely to hit a tier 7 item or 2 out of the Treasury, right? And that's good, right? It's just like 20 something chests there, right? Like you're probably going to hit at least 1 good thing. But Xyrak doesn't seem interested, and I can't say I blame him.
No.
They are very late in the seed to be looting anything. And
Xyrak might feel behind. I don't know, but I would think
a lot of the evil wall does not make you feel ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got to be sticking it in your craw. And Xyrak knows that the Excal has been doing good work, but for all he knows, Nightdew might have spiked that as well.
Yep. Can't know. But yeah, Xyrak is headed up the tower. Nightdew got the Darkness Crystal first and is going to finish the other fight while they're here. I agree with that. Like, it's, as I said before, this is not a spot that makes Mylon hard. There are very few spots that can.
No, it's funny when the most dangerous Mylon and friends is when you accidentally kill Mylon and all the friends get really angry.
Yeah, because the friends, can often have incredibly high attack powers, right? Like if the friends hit like Asura here, and there's 4 of them. Baigen, ooh, Zot 1 has one of our objectives.
And this has been available literally since the beginning of the game.
Yep, Zot 1 is available to anyone. You can get yourself to the Tower of Zot at any time. The person in Golbez's position just says, come back to me with the Earth Crystal and won't let you go farther. But yeah, this is Baigen, this is another objective, and now, right, like now Xyrak has to feel really good, right? Like they did Earth Crystal, they found an objective, right? Like, and so now they're, right, like they are down to 3 things they're looking for, right? Like, because they know where CPU is, right? So right there, right, like they know what CPU is. So now, right, like there are 3 things they're looking for, right? Like the fewer things you can have when you go to the moon, the better.
Yeah, they're just looking for 2 of the Gauntlet, Velvalis, and Wyvern.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's if you're in the mood to metagame, taking on a boss that's been available, that has been available since the beginning of the game at about $108 in the seed could make you worry a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and Nightdew goes check that rat tail, gets the spoon, and our Odin. Hi, Odin.
Xyrak taking on the Odin Nightdew. If Nightdew makes it up here, it will be a very nice family reunion.
Yeah, Nightdew did not check Sheila. Does not have access to the Earth Crystal. They did do the tower. They do have the Baron Key, and that's where they're going right now.
So very interesting divergence, and you get the feeling like this is where the game's going to be decided.
I mean, it's certainly going to inform both of their routing, right? I mean, especially if Xyrak remembers the Zot, right? Because like then they know that CPU's at the top of the tower, and then they've only got 2 left. Whereas right now, Nightdew is looking at going to the moon with 3 left. Right, unless this is Wyvern at the crystal.
Yeah, in case you joined us late, the very first piece of information we got, Cecil and Rydia were given the crystal gauntlet by a lunar sparkle. We have seen D-lunars, and that's the only one we've seen so far.
Yep, it's a 1 in 4 chance at the moment. A sand ruby out of the Tower of Zot, which doesn't give us anything.
Complete zonk.
Item. Yep, that's complete zonk. 8 key items now, and Xyrak's going to go back to the tower.
Well, speaking of niche strats, though, if you're really desperate for a free heal, that sand ruby will get you one.
And it's Plague instead.
And
you're right,
Plague,
though.
No match for this party.
It does give you a night's sleep. All right, and Xyrak's going to top the tower. We know CPU's up there. We know CPU will yield the Baron Key. So Xyrak still hasn't checked Hobbs, which is where Nightdew got the gauntlet. I like that's the difference there. And Nightdew doesn't have access to Earth Crystal until he does Sheila, and that's why Xyrak has the Baigen that Nightdew does not.
Yeah, and the beasts are ruling the kingdom. Antlion is on the throne.
Yep,
not going to be an issue for these levels. The biggest issue is how to get through this bait out as quickly as possible.
Yep, and we're just going to have to do a shake, and we don't even have any item organization to do. Nightdew's inventory is just what they want it to be, and it's, boom, done. And Xyrak enters their orb fight.
Well, we were talking at the beginning of this race how both of these runners, very good, both made it to the round of 16 at the Adamant Cup. Both have been around for a while in this community, and you're really seeing top quality strats and play from these runners. It's really great to see.
Yep, and it looks like Xyrak is not forced into YOLO strats.
Yeah, going to take it a little more deliberately.
Yeah, Avenger's not equipped, so.
And has a Dwarfax Sid in the front row, which is a little bit of a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the Dwarfax does do a good job of anchoring, right? But not when you equip it during combat.
But that Dwarfax does allow Sid to do full damage to that CPU in the back row.
That's right. It has a long range bit. Nightdew going to check the basement because that's an option that's pretty good. It's a bit of a walk. You can't exit out. You can't warp out, but it's still a 40-something% chance, and it's not a boss we want.
No.
And base checking makes sense. We're really close. We've got a lot of spots. We don't need to fight this.
No, and still a lot of key items out there that hold bosses.
Yep.
The Twin Harp, the Luca key, the Tower key. But
Nightdew's going to go to the moon with what we know are only 2 bosses that they can find, which means that he has to find both. Right? Like, assumedly, he's going to be committed to full clearing the moon and the giant before he goes back and does Sheila.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a difference here. That Xyrak is going, especially if Xyrak remembers to hit Hobbs, right? Like Xyrak goes to the moon and giant with a much, with being able to quit out after one boss. If Xyrak doesn't remember Hobbs, then Xyrak's in the same position, right? And Nightdew is already, right, like is already there. So yeah, I think that if Xyrak goes to Hobbs and goes to the moon, I think that Xyrak has a chance of getting lucky, finding one of the bosses at the right spot. It looks like Nightdew's gonna finally check Miss Cave and be relieved that it wasn't an objective. But yeah, I think if Xyrak checks Hobbs, that I think he has a chance to kind of sneak up and take this. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's the kind of thing where it opens up the position for Xyrak to gamble and succeed. There's your Baron key. Are you gonna risk it? We know that it doesn't pay out, but the odds are good. Right? Like,
not immediately, anyway. There's still a chance that the Dark Elf could have something.
All right, and Nightdew's finally going to check Venus as well. All right, so this is giving time back because Xyrak already did these things.
Yes.
Right, and so Nightdew's going to get his Cure 3. Xyrak's going to be able to start catching up, and maybe he's the one that actually ends up going to the moon first. And get out of this tower. Or maybe maybe Xyrak also goes Baron, because as we said, it's a good numbers play. Didn't quite pan out.
So far.
Yeah, so far. So far, you're right. It didn't pay out with bosses, but it could still pay out with a gated boss.
Nightdew will get his Cure 3, which he's been searching for ever since using one on the D-Lunars, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Going up top, and I agree with this play. Right, like this based on the information this spot has a 25% chance of having Wyvern on the front side, plus 2 more unknowns. Right, like the odds here are very good that you're going to hit something.
Yeah.
That's not the case. So I agree with this play, even though we know it doesn't work out. And that Nightdew is finally done. So yep.
And
Nightdew decides to. Okay, there we go. Nightdew decided the pilot needed to talk to Crystal. All right. Mode 7!
Hang on tight, the cheat. We're taking this baby to the moon.
You and Levine have plenty to talk about. He's a strong bat aficionado as well. Strong bat aficionado. All right, so Bahamut Cave first. This is good for face checking because you get to see the boss before you even walk around to the throne.
Yeah. And if you have any sirens laying around, you could pop one and get a nice bit of XP with the gold dragons. Not as easy to do with the lack of weak, but it's a possibility.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I expect a reset, and that's exactly what happens.
Not interested.
Yeah, it's tough to fight the gold dragons without stop as well. They are generally very fast. They can do exactly that. So just overpower you with hits and blitzes, and suddenly you're like, oh, Blitz takes off way more HP than I wanted to. And Xyrak's through Plague, easy enough.
Yeah, and while Nightdew starts to make his way down, and Xyrak deposes the rightful king of Baron and of the entire world, Lion, want to shout out one more time our restreamer Harumph and our tracker Zald for doing a terrific job behind the scenes, and thank you to my co-commentator Mecha for dropping all of this knowledge. It's so much fun being back in the booth with you, Mecha, commentating on the Red Moon waxing bracket.
Yeah, props to Sheepwatcher. It's been a while, but we have restreamed together before, and Nightdew's going to the top. Gonna check out the Murasame altar first. And Xyrak's gonna see some statues, and then is gonna get a moon veil.
Yeah, the statues were interesting. It was a puff of smoke that turned into stone.
Ooh, nice. I think my favorite is still when somebody gets faced the wrong direction, so their butt's holding back the wall. Like, all right, Mom Bomb, not interested. Yeah, we are in full face checking mode now. Because, yeah, I mean, there are items that block bosses. We have Package, Twin Harp, Earth Crystal, even though we know where that is. Right.
Yeah.
And Sealed Cave, you don't have Warp Glitch. Right, like Sealed Cave, Power Key, right? Like, all of those block bosses directly.
Yeah.
Right, like, so there are plenty of possible hits, but all you have to do is find, right, like, bosses, right? So you don't need to fight yet.
It's such a tough decision because Nightdew needs two bosses, right?
Yep.
If it were one boss that he was needing, it'd be an easy decision. You just face check all day. Yep. And then if it were three bosses, well, then you'd obviously maybe you'd pick and choose some of the bosses depending on how tough they are, but you'd at least hang around for some of them to see what key item you could get. But two bosses, can you commit one way or the other? It's a really tough decision.
Yeah, no, I agree that 2 is where it starts to become a real decision, and I think the preference right now is face checking it 2, but I could certainly see that being right or wrong in different situations. There's too many factors, and it's too early for me to have figured that out, honestly.
Xyrak is taking on the Dark Elf in the basement.
This is a divergence, and this could lead to something that is, another boss.
Yeah, and this is where that Holy Sword may have led Xyrak to it, because the X-Cal just absolutely mashing this Dark Elf.
Yeah, Dark Elf is wholly weak, and swords, the Holy Swords will tear through him terribly. Wyvern spot is guards, not required, but free. And
still has a coffin lying around. Xyrak picks up the pass.
This is fine.
Not required. Not going
required.
to.
Not gonna. It doesn't give you a key item.
Yeah.
But it does.
Could be very useful.
The pass almost always saves you.
Yes.
Right. Like it's the question is how much time, but the pass almost always ends up saving you time. So you're basically getting paid back for the long walk here. And so that's fine, right? Like it can save you a lot of time if you get all of your objectives on the blue planet, for example. Right, Nightdew just reset out of whatever he got there.
He didn't even make it through the Baron Guards. They are punchy at that spot.
They are punchy at that spot. Wow, I'm surprised he didn't make it through, but I mean, it's possible. All right, and Xyrak has finally exhausted all of the Earth options, literally all of the Earth options, and is headed to the moon. like the only thing Xyrak hasn't done is go to Hops, which we know, unfortunately, is one of the bosses he is searching for. Yes. So now he's in the same position. It's funny, like Nightdew and Xyrak are different bosses by beaten by each of them, but now are in the same position on the moon. Yes. They are looking for. They think they're looking for 3. They're really looking for 2. Here's Pale Dim. That's not something we need.
No, Pale Dim hot desking it, picking a different room on the moon. Sometimes you just get a little bored of where you are and just want to peek into the neighbor's apartment, see how they're living.
Yeah, get some more information.
Yeah.
So is this Pale Dim at the Plague spot or Pale Dim at the Lunar? Okay, at Plague. So it's not so bad then. The HP's not as high. I think I'm a little less in love with slogging through Pale Dim at the at the D-Lunar spot than at the plenty of slows. This is a melee heavy team. That sound is so iconic. Coffins on the moon. Something that Nightdew didn't check.
Yeah. Also mallet hype.
Yeah, we got mallet. If small is a problem, we got solutions.
If I had a mallet, I'd mallet in the morning, I'd mallet in the evening, all the way through.
Yeah, that's got to be a lot of size you're dealing with. That's rough.
Our tracker's all pointing out the coffins would have been nice for the guards. Nightdew did get one coffin off.
Yeah, had one coffin off and still got kind of punched to death. But no, a second coffin would have been great there. Xyrak's going to go down, see... So now we know that hourglasses aren't viable in the sea. So that's not great for anybody that wanted to do a gold dragon grind.
And
Excalibur.
There is that Excalibur.
Nightdew is finally equalized on the Excalibur front. Like 40 minutes later.
So that is a bit of time to lose, but better late than never, I suppose. Xyrak going to continue his... Yeah, he's going to continue to check these bosses and not just face check.
Yeah, as we said, right, like, this is kind of the point where... you're like, and I think we don't know yet exactly what the right path is.
Ribbon Room has Val.
Ribbon Room has Val.
Young has the Twin Heart.
Ooh, nice. So Ribbon Room having Val, right? Like, this is one of the, like, if you're doing a standard clear of the moon, this is like the first room you check. Because it has if you have 10 key items especially, because it has great XP, it has 2 key items, right? Like, it is the first room you check. So in a naive clear of the moon, this is often one of the first places you go. Right. Imagine if Xyrak had visited Hobbs, right? Like, and then did that standard clear. Right? Like, Xyrak would be done.
Xyrak is technically in go mode. Just needs to go down to the Ribbon Room and go to Mount Hobbs. Yep.
No, I mean we know that the solution to seed for them. Yes. Similarly, we know Nightdew's solution would be to go to Sheila 1.
Yes.
Right. So the question there is, when do we get Pan that might incentivize Nightdew to actually pursue that? Right.
And is there a single spot on the moon where a Pan would force Nightdew to abandon it? That's the question.
And yeah, Xenocat's absolutely right that the standard clear is much less popular on boss hunts, right? And we saw Nightdew not do it, right? And that's totally fair, right? Because if you're face checking, right, like, you just want to run to at the closest single face check spots and just slam your face into them. Yeah, I mean, Nightdew has options, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's a question of what is he actually going to do, right? Like, is he going to blind Zot 1 after going through all of Moon and the Giant?
And
Right, like,
technically, that's all Nightdew would
Giant?
need to do at this point.
Yes, but like, is that a good play? Right, like both of them can finish the seed, right? Like once Xyrak gets down to Valveless, but I think Xyrak might be prioritizing getting that 10th key item because Xyrak hasn't really ground, right?
Yeah. I mean, if the preliminary rounds are this good, how great is this tournament going to be?
All right, and what are our key items here?
It's a Mura and a Pan.
There's the Pan that might incentivize him to do Sheila 1, which we know has one of our objectives, but we don't know where Wyvern is yet. Could be that Wyvern's at the Ogopogo spot. Right?
Which would be a bear.
Yep. Could be Wyvern at CPU, could be Wyvern at, or could be Wyvern behind any number of these blocking items.
Yeah.
Right? Like we just don't know yet.
Xyrak does take down that Mamba.
We've at least seen 2 more Sparkles, so there's only 2 Moon bosses left. Stardust Rod, not so much of a hit. I mean, it's useful, we don't have one, but...
Yeah, and Xyrak actually going to hold on to that. For the XP
already...
or for the item or both.
Yeah, you already did it. And just the Magus Sisters. That's... Yep, it's like... Nightdew's in full face check mode. The Magus Sisters aren't interesting.
Yeah, only needs 1 boss, and now has that Pan.
Yep. It has the Pan, right? Like, so we have the Giant with 2 checks, the Pan with no boss checks, right? Like, that's the thing, is the Pan has no innate boss checks. You have to hit one of the gating items with it. Whereas, right, like, right now, the Giant has 2 bosses just sitting there waiting. Right?
True. It's a little bit of a hike to get there. And the first boss, if you're just face checking and the first boss is not appealing at all, then you're always going to wonder what's at the CPU spot.
Yep. And so we saw Nightdew not talk to the Giant from the person from the Moon. And so that kind of signaled he was going to be not doing the Giant, right? Because you would talk to the Giant person on the Moon and save yourself the extra of doing that. So Nightdew is going to pursue the Pan. We know that this will lead Nightdew to their objective. We know that Xyrak will be disappointed by the Moon after they do the Ribbon Room. The question is, what do they do when they only have 1 left?
Well, and we'll see if Nightdew will use this opportunity to check Zot. There are other opportunities, including that one. That's a Luca key. So that could divert him from
to Steel Cave. Yep.
I was going to say the package could also divert him, and in fact, Nightdew is going to go straight to the Steel Cave.
I like that, right? Like, like I said, like, the Pan doesn't give you any bosses innately, right? Like, it is now giving you a boss. Clearly, you go down and face check it.
Yeah, especially since you're already down there. You have the opportunity to reset fairly quickly if it's not Wyvern.
The pass was at Dark Elf at Odin Spot.
That's right.
Yep, and Nightdew face checked that, and Xyrak punched it down. Holy Sword gave it the business.
Yes.
Yep. So now we see, Xyrak's at Valveless. Going to get their 6th mark. Nightdew going down and hoping to see Wyvern or Baiken here.
Yeah.
We know it's spot you're generally hoping to see Wyvern and Baiken at. Like, I mean, yes, that's what he's hoping to see, but also.
Also, that's ugly. Oh boy.
But that's what they're looking for right now. That's what he wants to see. He wants to We know it's not Baigen, but it could be Wyvern. Right.
And so Nightdew will pick up that key item. Meanwhile, Xyrak's still clawing down that Valvolus, and this is pretty close.
Yeah, 42,000 HP is a lot of clawing. Adamant Rock. Ooh, now isn't that interesting?
That's a forge opportunity. Might be worth it for a Supersmith weapon or for the shop. Oh no, not that worth it.
No, wrong boss. There's one moon boss left, and it is that there's one moon boss left. This Wyvern, and we don't know where it is, but it's not here.
Yeah, it would be fun to forge, but you would have to get through a noodle to get there, and that noodle would be trouble.
Yeah, and right, like again, as we talked about pretty early here, yeah, like that doesn't that's no guarantee that that's going to be good, right? Like you could get something for another character that's completely useless, right? Or you could get the Excalibur, right? Like whatever that's called, Caliburn.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of good things. There's plenty of bad things, and Valvolus is down for Xyrak. Xyrak is 6 of the required 7 of 8 at this point. While Nightdew is about to get, a reason to go to package.
A tower key would have been interesting there as another source of a divergence, but Nightdew should be checking out that Earth Crystal before the package.
Package before. 2 bosses versus 1, right? It's...
Yeah.
1, 2,
Unless
3,
you
4,
really
5,
want to see a
6,
piggy making
10.
sleepy oinking noises.
Yeah, Nightdew does have the 10 key items now, and Xyrak is, of course, still going to be checking bosses, but at this point, right, like, it's definitely more like, I feel like it should be face checking, and that's what Xyrak's moved to, as we discussed earlier, right?
Yeah.
When you only have 1 left, you're face checking, right? Like,
no question.
Yep, so yep, that's exactly what Xyrak's going to do. He's going to face check the rest of the moon and find it wanting, and then what? Right, but as we know, Nightdew is headed in the right direction for go mode for him, and that's gonna come up in 3 Zot floors and 1 fairly quick Baigen fight. They don't have
and then
they have to walk it.
Yeah, is it quicker to fight your way through Zot or walk back down? I guess.
I think it's
probably walking back down.
The cutscene is pretty long. Probably walk back. Because then there's cutscene after it too, right? Like there's just nothing but cutscene.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't need any more EXP. Absolutely no reason to hang around.
Yeah, and Xenocat's right. You can warp in this tower. You can't warp out the final floor, right? Like you have to walk to it. But yeah, you can warp out, and that's definitely the fastest way out. Yeah, I think Xyrak forgot Hobbs, and
yeah,
unfortunately, right, like if they had remembered Hobbs, right, like they would be in go mode right now because it's a lot less time for that to make that kill, right? Right, like whereas Nightdew is going to get this Baigen around now, right? Like this flex, it's going to have a lot of stuff like this where minor decisions. What to fade, what to fight, what to face check are all going to change the texture of the match and how you make decisions. Nightdew's crystal is incoming.
And Nightdew does summon 1 more Leviathan just for old time's sake. What a... Rydia making a strong case for MVP of this seed on Nightdew's side.
And now we see Nightdew not remembering the warp. Because Rydia definitely has it. And that's fine, because it's one of those edge case things where...
No, it's a Rydia case thing.
You're right, sorry. And guards are definitely punchy. And
yes.
Now that we get to watch this fight with Xyrak, you had 2 coffins, and you had 8 coffins, and they're still up. What? What is going on here?
Did not use any of those coffins that
I
he
know they were
picked up.
selecting them. Like, what in the world happened?
And the issue is that, like, you get off your rhythm just a little bit with the guards casting status effects on you, and it can go sideways in a hurry.
Yeah. Size followed up by a hit means you were dead.
Nightdew, heading back to the big whale, does have to traverse the entire lunar subterrane, but definitely has the advantage.
Yep. Yep. No, I mean, this is the last spot on the moon for Xyrak to check, right? Like this is no longer free, right? Like that mute will make it free, but oh wait, no, It doesn't, because they're still getting punched down, right? Like you need to end this. Xyrak needs to end this fight quickly, and like if the next spot that Xyrak picks is either Hobbs or a giant that has a quick wyvern, right? Like they can get back in this without a Nightdew wipe. Otherwise, I think that they're going to need Nightdew to have a tough time of it with Zemus.
Yeah, which is still a possibility. Zemus, a real, always a threat. This is a pretty good party to go at Zemus with, especially with an Excal Cecil, but it's absolutely not a stone cold lock.
Rydia is essentially going to do nothing, right? Like she's got virus, right? She doesn't have nuke and she's not going to get it. Rosa has Cure 4 at 38, so Rosa's got Cure 4, right? Everybody else is going to be doing something. But yeah, Rydia's kind of, you only really have a 4-person party here.
Xyrak does pick up a crystal sword.
Crystal sword! That's certainly a powerful weapon, but...
Too late.
Too late, unfortunately. Yep.
And that is the vanilla crystal sword spot. So,
yep.
You know.
So Xyrak's exit. You know what? Xyrak's next choice, right? They also have a pan, right? Like,
yeah,
they have choices. But this is a classic case of having done something differently. The choices are different, right? Nightdew had 2 things at hand. Xyrak only has 1, right? So what does Xyrak follow? It's different, right? Like that's one of the things in this game is that, you know, slight variations in how you handle things have ripple effects down the way, where every decision you make from that point on is right, and every decision your opponent makes having gone a different path is right? Yeah. Like it's that fork that makes the difference.
Well, Xyrak is going to chase that pan, and then that pan's going to give him the Luca key, and going to follow that Luca key, and maybe get the package from Sheila after that, follow that.
I'm not in love with following the package, but I understand doing it. At that point, based on the information you have, I think you kind of have to follow the COK thing, as we said before. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the most likely thing for Xyrak to be doing.
And Nightdew almost at the bottom of the moon. Zemus is hanging out there. We know he is because we can't move Zemus around. But we do like to, have him dress up, be festive. And there are so many sprites in the pool, most of which are done by the fabulous and talented Scala Kitty. So, Mecha, please do the honors.
In the name of the moon, we're going to punish whom?
Yes. Love it.
The Z flags, of course, mean back in the old days, like there was actually a flag, like when we did them represented flags as Z, right? Like they'll be like, oh, like you put on the Z flag, get the random sprite. Now that's default. You have to actually ask to turn the sprite on, right? But the Z flag lives on in our hearts and in our memes, and the crystal will reveal to us the form of our doom.
Yes. What are Zemus' true colors today?
As Xyrak takes some eggs. This is with 10 key items. I like it. No! Not Barney. Moderate disagree.
This is the most fearsome Z sprite I have ever seen.
Yeah. I used to hang out on an IRC server, which hosted the group Barney Must Die. The jihad against Barney the dinosaur. Oh, that was loud. Anyway, so yep, here we go. We got the standard Silk Web into the counter nuke. Sid taking it's probably a good case. We have, Berserking. We have Sid the Chemist.
Barney is a Zemus in our imagination.
All right, and yep, as we talked about, Xyrak is doing what seems like the perfectly reasonable play of, we got a boss spot, let's check it.
Yeah. And Nightdew nerfing that first Big Bang excellently in pretty good shape.
Yeah. These damage numbers are not what I'd love to see. Right? Like, this is 5,000 DPR.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be rough. I mean, Kane, Sid, and Cecil all have good HP. Rose's HP is pretty decent. Right? But we'll see if Nightdew's in the market for some actual nerfing, or if we're just going to try and power couple our way through with Rosa Cure pouring everything.
Yeah, it seems like Berserk strats and Rosa trying to pick up after the Big Bangs. As long as the rolls are manageable, it's perfectly viable. Rosa does survive that Big Bang.
We don't have great White Mage defensive gear. We have tiaras. We have, we didn't get a white shirt. So, does she have a sorcerer robe? Right? She doesn't have a heroine. And she has a diamond ring? Right? This is not the kind of... This is not where you want to be with gear on Rosa if you're trying to survive at sub 2400 HP. So the Rosa is definitely at risk. Here,
yeah.
The Sid as Chemist is definitely providing us some good backup. But that Rosa is definitely at risk. A bad Big Bang into virus could really, set this team up for failure.
Yeah, or even a Big Bang into rocks could really be perilous.
That's always the possible dagger is Big Bang into rocks, because rocks get queued via a chain, right? So it cheats a little in terms of how it queues up when it hits that phase change. But yeah, it's just, what we would refer to as, power couple strats. So Cecil has enough HP, Rosa hopefully survives and can keep them both up. And in this case, we have Kane and Sid as well, tagging along.
Yeah, it all depends on the roll here.
Yep, it all depends on these rolls. Does Rosa stay up?
That's a nice roll. That is a nice roll.
Yeah, that's a good roll. Chemist Sid is going to elixir her, just to make sure. She has plenty of MP, unlike Hela or Fusoya, who regularly run out in this battle if you're using them.
And that should bring Nightdew a little bit of relief. Black Hole will come out, he'll have to rebaucus everyone, but that seems to be very manageable at this point.
Alright, and Xyrak is taking the package. So we are going to see Piggy. We are going to see the custom sprite. Black Mages! Black Mages have come to Vist. They're burning down the summoners for taking their positions in parties.
And Xyrak really taking Fading Harp to its logical conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, arc is long.
Barney continues to stare at us with those dead eyes.
Those dead eyes.
I don't like it.
Giant stop sign. Pig. What is the class of a pig? Pig.
Pig.
Pig's the class. Normally you see color or white wizard or black wizard. There's rocks.
Yeah.
We're in good shape for that, I think. Nightdew has got this one.
Yeah. Nightdew, a really well done Z fight, got the rolls that he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And he has done it. Nightdew wins in the preliminary round in the Red Moon waxing bracket with a time of 1:45:43. Nightdew will advance to play Direwolf in the next round. GG's.
GG's. Congratulations to Nightdew. They have won. They have won their play-in and have played into a Direwolf fight next week. And Xyrak is going to at least get to show us what boss was here. And that noise means that Nightdew has joined it. GG's, Nightdew.
And thank you.
So your moon strategy was really interesting. When you went up to the moon, you had 2 bosses. What was your strategy for face checking for finding out who for completing the seed?
I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, it was a little bit of gamble with 5 bosses and needing 2 for that, and really only finding the 1 in Val. But after that, I was actually probably locked into just running the giant after that until Pan showed itself in the ribbon room, and I'm like, well, let's see if we can put giant off just that much further. Pan gives Luca, which turned into a zonk, which I'm kind of sad about because I really wanted to see that Super Smith. But then Sheila just forks over both package and Earth Crystal, and like, oh boy, here we go, and it's and we just jump into that, and it's yeah, and then Bygones on Zot 1, and we could have finished this thing like 20 minutes earlier had I just went up and checked Zot 1.
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. I mean, Xyrak has joined us as well. Did you two talk about where your boss positions were? Because there's a story to be told there too.
Yeah.
GG's, Xyrak.
GG's, Nightdew.
Thank you, and you too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the Hob spot having Gauntlet, right? Xyrak did Sheila 1, got the Earth Crystal, found that Zot 1 spot earlier than you did, Nightdew. And if Xyrak had not faded Hobbs, Xyrak would have been in go mode, right? Like when they hit Valvalis on the moon, not had to come back. Right?
Yeah,
like,
talking about it a bit in the channel. I think it sounds like at that point Nightdew is ready to go. I would have had to grind 2 or 3 eggs to get Rose at a safe Big Bang HP.
Yeah,
so,
you would have had to grind a little, but you would have been in go mode before him. Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It could have been really close.
Yeah.
Too bad I forgot completely about Hobbs.
Yeah, very much. And it was kind of weird because I went up there very much. Fading the Sheila 1 was intentional, actually.
Right.
I'm like, well, it's 1 check. I know key items aren't as valuable on here. I just need to make boss checks as soon as possible. So I'm like, okay, this might come back to bite me, and apparently it very well may have if things worked a little bit differently. But yeah, it's but yeah, that's if people were asking, yes, I intentionally faded that Sheila 1 check.
Mm-hmm. No, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Like that logic where it doesn't provide any boss checks. It provides you 3 rolls on the key item table, right? Like, well, for you, it only would provide 1, right? Because you didn't have Pan, right? So it is reasonable to do it, and it is reasonable, right? Like to skip it, right?
Yeah, I had it in my head to skip it too, but I was thinking in the underground after taking care of all the obvious stuff, like knowing that CPU is at the top of tower, who's on the hit list. So I stopped at the bottom, and I think I went up like...
You turned around and dropped a save and went and did it. Yeah. No.
Yeah. So what went through my head was I remembered actually the dwarf axes were in Fabul.
Yep.
So I was like, I can potentially increase my DPS here on Cecil and Sid if I just go buy a couple of those. And
which is what you did.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I go over there and do that, I might as well just do Sheila 1 and check that on the way. And I'm like, I can't speak to anybody else's how they value stuff, but I'm never skipping Earth Crystal on these flags. A shot at 2 bosses and a key item, free heal that centers you in the map. Like, I'm not ever turning that down. So just went and did it.
Entirely reasonable. No, I mean, I think we're early in these flags. There's a lot of, like, we were talking about how, like, when do you start face checking, right? Like, you guys were in the exact position where it's kind of on the edge, right? Like, where where, you might take a boss if they seem easy, and both of you did, try to take the free boss at Wyvern Spot, right? And both of you had a harder time of it than you expected.
Yeah.
Expecting those sizes to continuously land. I'm thinking, I coffin one down, get a little bit of a life glitch. Maybe I eat one or two of them, and then it's like two of them immediately pop, and one of them's on Cecil. I'm like, why don't we just walk away?
Yeah, you both had a little trouble with that thought, which was something.
Yeah. The other boss that gave both of you a little trouble. Could there have been a worse position for that evil wall than that King Queen Evelyn spot with that party?
We were talking about that, actually, and it came down to, like, I told him, like, I had a legend sword going in there, so I'm like, okay, I have glass hat, heavily armored Cecil, let's just park him here and find somewhere else to deal with all that damage, and then I learned that Xyrak did have, like, an X-Scal out of the Stone Man chest, so I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's a 12%er. Both of you, hit that fight, adjusted appropriately. Right, that was an incredibly rude evil wall there. Both of you had fairly squishy parties, all things considered, that definitely made that hook route a little. You see the imps, and you're like, okay, right, whatever, imps. And it's like evil walls there for you.
Yeah. Shoutouts to board AI still being a thing after all these years. Just either punching Rosa before she gets Berserk off, or would tap Kane, and then which would force Cecil to auto cover him, and then Cecil would get one shot. I'm like, okay, cool. I have this big beefy Sid sitting right in the middle. Like, if you want to punch him, totally cool. But
Yep.
So, I know you both have been playing some red moon seeds in preparation for the tournament, and now that the tournament has begun, what have kind of been the lessons that playing this flag set has kind of taught?
Right now, it's just basically roll with what you've been given. It's the one big thing about this flag set so far is more that you basically are handed the pieces to a puzzle and told to just go put it together. To quote a little bit of Possum there, because he said the same thing, and I really agree with that. But
I think for me, when I talk about variance in rando, I usually talk about like macro and micro levels. This flag set has almost zero variance at the macro level. It's all about how you choose to micro manage everything. As long as you don't, forget to check. But I mean, apart from that,
I think that's a good distinction. Yeah. It's very micro, right? Like, and in this case, right, like you two went on, made one decision that spiraled off into different directions, and all of those directions were reasonable, right? Like the coin flip went two different ways, and it spawned two different paths. That happens. Also, something interesting that I noted early, you both did quite a bit of looting on the overworld. Either if you want to talk about that, like why there was such a high treasure chest count in the overworld.
The weapon, full stop.
Weapons, full stop.
Yep. Something that wasn't a legend sword.
That was more or less. I mean, it's sort of like a fighter thing in general, but in this case in particular, it was Cecil who just nothing was coming up for him at all. But
right.
Yeah, it's just fighters if they're not doing any damage, they're not really doing much for you.
Right, that's all they can do. Like their hit is damage. No, that makes sense. I'm just curious as it's one of those things where I'm used to seeing players run a little leaner, and so whenever you see them not doing that, there's something to call out there. Yeah,
for sure. Money is obviously still a thing. J items are very powerful, so you want your money for stuff, and money. It's not super easy to come by because there's not a whole lot of high tier, so you need enough stuff to sell to be able to get where you need to get to. But yeah, a party of mages, it's whatever. Get your life potions, get your cures and your star veils, and then just whatever. But yeah, Cecil swinging a legend or Kane swinging a wind spear is not going to do a whole lot for you once you get past the first couple of bosses.
Not.
Yeah.
Is that Nightdew had legend all the way till the Pink Tail was acquired and was checked for Avenger. Was not great.
I mean, I was very happy to see that Avenger, but
I agree.
Yeah, in retrospect, I'm trying to think of all the stuff that I looked at and got. I don't remember another Cecil weapon coming up other than the one X-Cal that I pulled. So yeah, I believe it.
Yep.
I mean, I remember having a glut of J items. Like, I mean, that's all we were getting from overworld rewards too.
Yep.
Big Bombs, Boreases, couple Grimoires didn't really pan out a whole well, but it's really bad when you're doing cover Cecil strats on some of this stuff, and the Grimoire pulls out Sylph, and you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, that was a bad Grimoire for you. Zalbe did, sorry, not Zalbe. Xyrak did get the Bahamut Grimoire.
Yes.
So,
I was like, yeah, I probably would just prefer to keep the Star Veils. Let's see if I get lucky. We're like, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, Nightdew, you continue on in the Red Moon waxing bracket. Xyrak, you are still alive for a trophy in the waning bracket. Gonna take. How are you going to adjust going forward, or are you gonna stick with playing your game?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, if I remembered it like Mount Hobbs. I'm going to be honest. Mount Hobbs never once entered my head. They told me in the channel afterward, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that it sure is a check with the boss that exists in this game." Like I just never even remotely thought about it. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah, we were talking about it. It's like it's just one of those things. It's like it's not in our normal pattern, right? Like for years now, it's been you're checking for bosses. You got to check the waterfall, and you got to check, right? Like it's just not in our heads to check that for a boss.
Not for a boss, right? You're used to checking it for a character, but when there's no character there, it's like, so...
The wiring's just not there. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this time it was the...
Yep, this time it counted.
Yeah, so, so just not do that again. And then, just keep doing what we're doing. What happens, happens.
Yep. That makes sense.
Well, GG's to both of you. That was a terrific race to watch. And best of luck to both of you going forward in Highway to the Zemus Zone 5.
Very much as Xyrak, GG, and I will see you in Zemus Zone 6, I'm assuming.
Or the other tournament that comes up first.
Yep.
In the same group as first round, as is tradition. Yeah.
Yep.
Good competitors. Thank you both. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.
And that reaches the end of our broadcast today. Do you want to talk about tomorrow, Cheap Launcher?
So, tomorrow, there will be no tournament races. We're still in the preliminary round, so no tournament races tomorrow. There will be races on Friday. If you're not in the Discord already, get in the Discord. That's the best place to find out where where and when the next races are going to be. So we will see you Friday at a time on either Free Enterprise or Free Enterprise 2, as we were tonight, or maybe even RPG Limit Break. So hop into the Discord and make sure you see us over there.
Discord has a Google Calendar you can use. It has a channel where you'll see things get scheduled, right? Like there are plenty of ways to keep your eye on the tournament, right? Like, and as Sheep Blanca said, this is the play-in week where we're dealing with the fact that 64-person brackets and 32-person brackets don't really love getting people added to them. So next week will be chock full of matches. Right now,
wall to wall, evil wall to evil wall, even.
Yep, because we'll be doing both of the round of 36 and 32 and 64 matches for both of the waxing. So it should be the full 16 plus 32, 48 matches next week, right?
Yeah. So this is the amuse-bouche we are having here.
We are whetting your appetite for the future. So again, thank you to Harumph and Zalde. for doing the work in the background. Thank you to Xyrak and Nightdew, of course, for running for us and putting on the show. Thank you to Sheep Launcher for escorting me along on my first coverage in a while.
And thank you to Mecha for providing such entertainment and all of the knowledge. We are going to be rating Apex Corvid, who is practicing Blue Moon flags on an async race. The async race is B0ZDTP. If you were thinking of running that, now's your chance to bail before you get spoiled for that. But Apex Corvid, everybody come call along with us. And until next time, for all of us, so long.
Janet.